this week's episode of Car Stars and Roll Bars. Each week we have all this great perspective about the car culture, the builders, the owners, the collectors, and some actual very, very cool storage facilities. Today we are thrilled beyond comprehension. Yeah, I'm all a flutter here. We got Shawn Davis from AutotopiaLA, and the other based out of Southern California. And until about 2011, Shawn spent most of his time working as a musician. You know the drill, touring, writing, recording, just doing the grind. And then his band, Stonehoney, eventually they kind of came in their contracts deal. He said, well, I'm going to come back to LA and kind of work on his other passion, essentially anything in the world of automotive. AutotopiaLA was born in 2016 as a high-end vehicle storage and concierge facility, which gave birth to the AutotopiaLA YouTube channel, which is currently, and we're going to talk about again later, they got over 400,000 subscribers there yet and close to 1 million views. And later on, 100 million views. And later on, you're going to see why. The focus of the channel is pro touring, retro mod vehicles, shooting garage-built vehicles. Well, of course, like SEMA, Grand National, all the cool places you want to be. Shawn said he's blessed beyond description, enjoying making a living doing something he loves and creating relationships in the automotive world that will last a lifetime. And Shawn, welcome aboard, man. Good to have you in the studio, aka remotely. How you doing this morning, man?
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, man.
You betcha. And Shawn and I go back. We've been chatting quite a bit, and yeah, and I always come up with a quote for the show. And for this, I think it's going to be got to be the coolest job on the planet. I mean, this is. And for the viewers that have seen some of his videos, you get a sense of his energy. I think more importantly, the passion of what you do for all this. Before we get to all the cars, we want to talk a little bit about the facility that started all this. So when we talk concierge facilities, before we jump into all the picks, Rick, Shawn, can you give us an insight? Because there's a lot of great places you can store your hot rod, right? It'll be secure and it's locked. You don't have to worry about it. But I believe you guys have taken it to a whole new level, correct?
We've tried to, and there's places that I've seen. In the time that I've opened this, a lot of facilities have opened, and I've seen some that have worked in the whole social club element and things of that nature. My goal was to create a place that's almost impossible to find. My address doesn't show up anywhere. I don't have it published anywhere. It's very nondescript. There's no signage. There's nothing. My goal was to make a place that's very, very secure. So for the millions of dollars worth of vehicles that I have stored here, I have great confidence that they'll be what they're supposed to be, which is safe and taken care of in the best manner that we can provide for our clients.
Beautiful. A little bit of name dropping. I look at my notes. You guys have done provided feature vehicles for Fast and Furious and Straight Outta Compton. The facility's been used for Top Gear, Payday, The Heist. I think you're sitting in the members lounge, so we're going to some pictures of those. And you offer up different services as well. And if I remember, you guys can actually help with someone wanting to build a car?
Yeah, I do a lot of call it project management. Oftentimes it's really just coordinating, connecting. I know so many it's been 10 or 11 years now that I've been involved in this industry, and I've become friends with so many builders, from household name builders, guys we all know like Ring Brothers and Steve Strope and what have you. And then a lot of unknown guys, because there's shops all over the place that don't get publicity. They're not building show cars, but yet they're building really quality vehicles. So I always try to pair people with what's the intended outcome? Are you planning on going to SEMA or Grand National or any of the big shows? Or do you want a car that you can get in, turn the key, drive, enjoy, put it away, and nobody probably ever knows about it? And so I always try to coordinate people with the right people,
And that's such a great approach. And I've told the viewers before, and you're going to hear this a lot from all these players in the industry, including Shawn that's with us today. When you go to build a car, what do you really want before you ever start? Because otherwise, you're mid-course correction. We got a few pictures of this facility, the cars inside it, and what this lounge looks like. So, Rick, if you can pull a few of those up. So just glancing around the cars, you see the storage racks there. So this is kind of well thought out, sir.
Yeah, and it's funny to see it like that. That's an old shot where I used to look. If you can see that Raptor's got a trailer hooked up behind it. Now every rack in the shop is full, every spot underneath, and
Wow.
the center drive aisle there is full all the way up to my bay door. And now I have
Wow.
vehicles that I outsource to another facility, a friend of mine that has a private facility where I put vehicles because I'm completely full at my place.
Beautiful. I love it. I think we got a
Yeah.
couple more coming up. So again, so there's a lot of great places to store your vehicles. You're saying, well, maybe when I'm there, I'd like to shoot a game of pool. Right? I'd like to relax and some nice couches. And it looks like you guys got that figured out in spades, man. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, that's where I'm sitting right
Oh,
now.
cool.
That's what's behind me. It was, originally this place was my brother's private man cave. None of the lifts were in the garage. He had about 10 of his own cars. Friends of his like Paul Walker and Roger Rodas kept a couple cars here while they had their own facility. And so it was really more of his man cave. And
Nice.
then I took the place over from him it's been about 6 years now that I turned it into a storage business. Like you can see in that shot through the glass, there's no racks out there.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And that was kind of, so I inherited the lounge as it is. I've changed some of the art on the wall to put
Sure.
more personal stuff in here because that was all very stock photo kind of stuff back then. But I mean, like there's another great shot of, if you look through the glass, you can see there's,
Oh, yeah.
there's probably 15 or 20 cars max inside the shop. Now
Beautiful.
I have 60 in my shop.
60. Wow.
Yeah.
So, and obviously we got to talk about cars. So I'm digging this Mustang, by the way. Wow.
That was such a cool car. My brother actually owned that car at the time. If you look, it's a really interesting shot actually, because what you have is at the very back there, you have my neighbor Dennis builds all the Fast and Furious cars. So that's the Charger, the Ice Charger, we called it.
Right.
Right in front of that is a car from the Speed Core guys called Tantrum Charger, which is a bonkers build. And then that Mustang right there, that was it's a Ring Brothers build that my brother Eric owned. And that was, talk about an exceptional build. I mean, they widened that car, 2 inches on each side all the way down. So it doesn't look like a wide body because technically it's not, but
Right.
technically it is because they widened the whole damn car all the way down both sides.
I love it.
And it's Ring Brothers fit and finish, which
Yeah.
for me personally, I mean, there's so many great builders out there. Just my personal opinion as far as design and fit and finish goes, I think they're the top of the heap for me. I really do. I love what the Ring Brothers do. And then what's crazy, by the way, in this shot also, you look around, all those cars that are up on the rack and on the floor have since been sold. I used to house, the big car accident that killed Roger Rodas and Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Roger was my younger brother Eric. It was his best friend in the world.
Wow.
And Paul was a good friend as well. So after that crash, we brought all of Paul's stuff over here, and it lived here until just a couple years ago when all that stuff was sold at Barrett Jackson.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you. I've known Mike and the Ring Brothers, Mike and his brother Jim for years. They're really stand-up guys. I think we got some pictures of cars that's going to be leading up to a video, so viewers stand by. This looks like a fairly serious Chevelle.
It's really serious, and that guy that owns it is a character and a half. That car has at the time we shot it, 632 big block. He wanted to add nitrous to it, so he went to add nitrous and found out that engine wasn't really going to deal with nitrous well. So he had a whole new 632 built for that car, and now it has a bottle on it too.
Wow, beautiful. I think we got a couple more coming up. That's just, and again, coolest job. Now I got to be candid, Shawn, because number one, you sent me all these great shots, so you're killing me. I'm trying to pick a handful. That's uber cool. What's up with that?
That thing's nuts. If I'm sure you probably know who Brad DeBerti and his dad Doug are.
Yeah.
That's right there is from a shoot we did. We went out to North Carolina, spent a couple days shooting with Kyle Tucker and Detroit Speed.
Yep.
And then Brad DeBerti and his dad had just moved down there and set up shop. And so we went over and shot with Brad. And that truck right there, you know, him and his dad built it in partnership with Toyota. It's got a Toyota NASCAR engine in it. That thing revs, if I remember correctly, I think it's a 900 horsepower engine, and it revs to 10,000 RPM. And that kid, I tell you, Brad DeBerti is not only funny, class character, just a class guy, but that kid in that shot right there, while he's drifting, smoking tires going ballistic, his hat blows off. He reaches back and grabs his hat with his right hand while he keeps spinning the truck around with his left hand. I mean, he is such a raw talent, that kid, man.
That is excellent. I think we got a couple more coming up, brother.
Yeah.
Now, where was this at?
That's out at El Mirage, dry lake bed.
Right.
It's, the guy in the driver's seat's also the guy that built that car. His name's Jesus. Jesus, his father is very well known as Gabe's Custom Interiors.
Yeah, I know Gabe.
Yeah, so Jesus grew up working in his dad's shop until recently he broke off and started Lopez Performance. And this is the first build he did. It's a car called Grim 7.0, and it's a 69 Camaro full custom with the SB4 motor from Mercury Racing.
Beautiful.
Stellar. Just what a beautiful work of art car. And it's one of probably many that will pull up here that's designed by one of my best friends in the world, a guy named Sean Smith, who's, in my opinion, one of the top 2 or 3 designers in the hot rod world.
Absolutely. I think we got a couple more than I'm going to chat with. Okay, I'm digging this. We're getting serious there in the truck, brother.
Super fun, man. That's my buddy Rob, RJ Fabrication out in Hesperia, and that truck was too clean. They had just recently finished it, and when we went out to shoot it, because up behind Rob's house, you know, Rob has trails that go for days, and he's like, "Hey, dude, this truck's too clean. I just want to shoot it on the street." We were kind of bummed out, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, we can still catch some air." And that happened right in front of his house. He actually calls his neighbors and says, "Hey guys, give it a break for a minute. I'm gonna be catching some air out in front of our houses." And they all laugh and come out with their phones recording us.
Oh, I love it. Too cool. Yeah, serious air. Let's see what else we got here. This is a breathtaking Tri-5, man. What is up with this, dude?
Work of art right there, man. That is, I don't know if you're familiar with the owner. Bob and his son Kent have quietly been building cars, you know, as you can see, for a portion of their garage there. Bob Matranga and Kent Matranga. You know, this car, it won Battle of the Builders last year, but Bob's goal with this car was a no-expense spared trip to Detroit Autorama to win Riddler. Yeah. And he took that car in 2019. No knock against any of the other contestants, but he made grade 8 with this car.
Nice.
That car should have won Battle of the Builders. You know, the only thing, and this is the honest truth from the designer, Chris Brown. Chris Brown said, other than the fluids and the tires, everything on this car is a one-off. Everything, every nut and bolt, everything is like literally everything other than the tires and fluids.
Yeah, tires and fluids. I love it. Just beautiful.
Many millions of dollars went into this build.
Well, viewers, tell you what, we always like to have a couple of videos, and we've got a video to give you a hint of just what kind of vehicles are in at AutotopiaLA in their storage facility. So, Rick, if we can hit that video real quick, then I got a couple questions for Shawn.
Yeah, man.
Okay, if you're ever looking and you're needing like an old beat up, a lot of white hair, want to be, YouTuber, MC, auction guy, and maybe just come out and like sweep the floors for you or make your lunch. I'll be glad to send you my resume. That is just a beautiful shot. Thank you for providing that video. It gives you a sense of just the magnitude of your facility. Before we go into YouTube, viewers, hold on to your hats for this. I always like to talk to my guests, get an inside into their skull. And this one's going to be fun for you. So what's one of your favorite automotive memories?
Boy, I think I'd have to go back to my uncle when I was a little kid. I came up in a Porsche family. My mom drove a 356 cab. My dad had a Speedster. My uncle had a 356 coupe. My mom and dad drove like mom and dads do, which was very safe and chill and relaxed. My uncle drove like a complete jackass. And so one of my great memories is with my older brother Joe in the front seat, me just stuffed into the back, and my uncle in a cul-de-sac doing donuts in his 356. While my brother Joe was screaming, I was laughing, and my uncle was telling us both to shut up so he could drive.
Nice.
That's what started it all for me. My dad and my uncle just kicked off the passion for sure.
Okay, drum roll. And I always look forward to this question, especially with you, Haas. What's your favorite automobile? Yeah.
Oh, God, man. I've got my top 10 list.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
It's fun. It's funny for me because I'm definitely a Resto Mod Pro Touring guy. I have all the appreciation in the world for numbers matching collector vehicles.
Sure.
I've driven enough of them to understand that they're just not much fun to drive. So for me, a couple of my favorites would be a 69 or 70 Mustang, properly built.
Perfect.
Right there with that is a second gen Camaro. Again, I would want a full Pro Touring chassis build. But then I veer off into some interesting land too. In being that I came up with Porsche as a kid, I'm absolutely in love with what Rod Emery does and with what Singer Porsche does.
Yeah.
So, if I had that unlimited checkbook to play with, I would have a Rod Emery 356, and I would definitely have a Singer 911.
Beautiful.
And then again, veering off into an odd land is I'm not a big exotic car guy, but there's something about a Ferrari F40 that just blows my mind. The design elements of it, how raw it is, how violent it is.
What? And if I recall, you were at the Marconi Museum not too long ago getting a chance to ride shotgun in an F40 with John.
Yep. And John's a guy that guy's got a lot of experience driving cars on racetracks, right? Yeah. So he was respectful in that we were on the streets, but he wanted to show me things in that car like, look, it has no ABS at 60 miles an hour and lock the brake enough to not flat spot tires, but just to show me that if you brake too hard, it's going to let you.
Beautiful.
What an experience. Dude, I'd been around him. I had never even sat in an F40 in my life.
Me neither.
And I got to sit in it, harness in, and go for a drive with, a guy that, in my opinion, is quietly a bit of a legend.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had the pleasure of him being on the show recently, what the family's doing for all their charity work. Just a stand-up guy.
He really is. And he's, we all know he's in that dollar realm where if he was a jerk, it would be understandable because you go, he's an uber rich guy.
Yeah.
But he came up the right way. He worked for it. Nothing was handed to him. The guy worked for it, and he's as humble as it gets. And I love that he still puts in. I mean, I think it's bonkers that he puts in as many hours as he does. But he does it, from what I've seen, he does it for a couple reasons. His passion for automotive, and he's got a real drive to make a difference with, at-risk kids. And
absolutely correct.
If I had one on, it's my hat's off to that guy. Big time.
You got that. He's on my a tall hero list now, I think, because that list's getting shorter, finding really cool people. Okay, viewers, you heard me earlier talking about numbers. Over 400,000 subscribers, approaching 100 million views for their YouTube channel. Most people go, what? What could be triggering that amount of interest? Well, I think we got a little teaser for you. So duck yourself
Oh, cool.
to the lawn chairs and hold on. Hey, Rick, hit that play button, buddy. Dude, every shot I see, all you're doing is grinning, and that kind of fits in the duh category. How much fun was it driving that General Lee, man? That's sick.
Funny to me too to hear the horn was just like it was on its last leg.
Yeah.
But you got to hit the horn. But that's actually that's a real TV show used General Lee.
Oh, cool.
That's a real one. It's not a replica. That was actually in the TV show, and it survived. It's not one, obviously, that got jumped.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. Again, we talked earlier. I love the shot of you riding in a shotgun in that Nova, and the son is in the back seat. I'm not sure which one of you guys is grinning more, man. It just.
Anthony, I love it when we watched the playback of that. We were dying laughing because he'd be fairly straight faced, and then as soon as his dad would hit it, boom, he'd light up with a smile. Yep. So, that kid's hooked.
Tell you what, in interest of time, we're going to save some of the pictures for our next go-round together. Reflecting back where you started, Shawn, just what do you think has led to this phenomenal, very well-deserved success with your amazing YouTube channel? As far as viewership and viewers, what's kind of been your secret sauce?
I mean, first up, I would have to say my team, because it doesn't happen. It ain't happening with just me by myself.
Right on.
And that's just the truth, So I would have to credit them a lot for it. I think a portion of the success is that we've always made it. I'm just the guy hosting it. Like, I've never thought of myself as the star of the show. I always think the car and our guest is the star, and I treat everyone with the same exact approach, be it a well-known builder or just some dude that I'm meeting for the first time, Yeah. And then I think also that we found our lane, right? In the early stages, we used to shoot exotics and sports cars and all kinds of stuff. And we kept finding that my biggest passion, and certainly what was connecting with the audience, was showing pro touring and resto mod builds, everything from garage built cars where a guy's got 20, 30 grand into it, on up to the ones that are multi-million-dollar builds. But we're focused, and so I think we've become a bit of the authority as far as if you're into pro touring and resto mod cars, come to our channel because that's what we're going to show you.
And I think part of just listening all this, to coin the old phrase about management and leadership, you guys have kind of figured out who you are.
Definitely.
Perfect.
Yep. And it's passion first. It's what we love first. And we went, well, then why don't we just go with what we love and trust that there's got to be an audience for it. There's got to be.
Well, I think you found that. Hey, Rick, if you could pull up one or two more pictures, and we're going to sign off before too long. Where was this?
Well, a couple of buddies of mine, and I'm like the fifth Beatle to this thing. We call it the quarantine cruise, cruising PCH, and this started at the very beginning of quarantine, where the world was shut down, and we went, well, there's no law that says we can't go drive our cars around.
Sure.
And so it started with 3 guys, turned into about 40 or 50 by the second one. By the third one, we had over 500 cars, and now once a month, coming up this Sunday, as a matter of fact, is cruising number 32. We average between 1,200 and 2,000 cars once a month. It's amazing. And it's like 2 cars and coffees with a cruise in between. We meet up, hang out, we go for a cruise, and then we have a second meetup spot. And it's just incredible, man. Really, really incredible.
Good for you. Let's pull up one more, Rick. Anytime there's a huffer sticking out of the hood, I'm going, this is kind of my swim lane.
Love that car, man. Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's the son of the guy that owns the Tri-5 we pointed out earlier. This is Kent Matranka, 66 Chevelle. I mean, what a stellar build. Fit and finish is impeccable on it. And then you got the blower sticking out the hood. And as you can tell there, Kent is not afraid to drive his car.
He's going to hammer it a little bit. Let's see how many more we get through. We're kind of watching our clock. I think did Jimmy Shine have something to do with this one?
That is Jimmy Shine's personal car now. It was originally built for what was going to be a TV show that didn't happen. You see the skinny tires. It was set up for going for a land speed record.
Yeah.
18 years later, the producer calls him and said, hey, you know what? I just remembered we have this Charger sitting around. Jimmy bought it, built it into what it is, and left the wheels the skinnies because he wants to still be able to tell the story of what it originally was intended for.
Beautiful.
And that guy's an episode all in himself.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Last time I saw Jimmy, we were deplaning in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and he let me goes, of course you're on the flight with me. Now, anybody that's around Kevin, anybody around Kevin Hart, you know he's really into hot rods. I saw the part of the reveal on this one, and that young fellow was kind of stunned when he saw this when it's finished.
He was, man. That's Dave Salvaggio built that car. Dave was part of the Speed Core team. He left about a year and a half ago. And this is another one that my buddy Sean Smith designed. Every element of this car, down to the wheel, the interior, you name it. This car was all designed by Sean Smith, obviously wearing a one-off set of HRE wheels. And we shot it at the home of HRE down in San Diego. Beautiful. What a car, man. What an exceptional car.
Absolutely, positively correct. And for all the viewers, I imagine you've seen the clips. I want to thank Rick, if you can pull us up, both of us together momentarily. I want to thank Shawn and your team for your candor on the initial video after the accident. You guys did a follow-up one to kind of what was going on, a lot of interest. Just briefly, how are you doing? Are you like 120% recovered? I think you're kind of past some of your therapy. How's it going for you?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I'm good. It's gonna feel like I have a fat lip for the rest of my life because it took about 30 stitches to put my lip back together. I had to replace some teeth, but they look good. I'm happy with them.
Yeah.
And then the only thing that's still lingering for me is my low back. I've been, I was dumb enough to not put the harnesses on that day we shot. Just complacency is the truth. Yeah. And so I'm still dealing with some low back pain from just having a lap belt on that forward movement and the slam back and stuff. And then, Russ, the driver and owner of the vehicle, Russ blew out his right elbow. He told me he's at about, last time I spoke to him a couple months back, he was about 85, 90% on motion. And then, the one thing I blew it on, and however many people are watching this that have seen the video, was when we made this video, I was so focused on pointing out the neglect on our part that I neglected to mention the driver of the minivan that we rear-ended. And that's part of why we did that live Q&A. We caught a lot of flack for that video.
Yeah.
So I have either the stupidity or the balls or just the courage, whatever you want to call it, to say, well, cool, you want to come talk to us? We'll do a live Q&A. Feel free to jump on and ask your questions, and I'm right here. I'll face it, man.
And that was really cool. It reflects on the strength of your team. And
Yeah,
before we
man.
get out
But
of here,
just as far as just to throw it out, that the minivan driver, you know, he had a small little cut on his forehead,
right?
And that was all I knew. His damages were very little. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank goodness, right? So, how do people get a hold of Autotopia LA? I think we got a little bit of information we could pop on the screen here. There we go.
Yeah, I mean that's really it right there. I mean, my email and phone numbers on the website, the YouTube channel. I do my best to keep up with comments. I spend about an hour to 2 hours a day responding to comments, and then the Instagram, I manage that completely myself. So any DMs or anything, I get to it. So I'm a pretty easy guy to get a hold of if you really want to get a hold of. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're one stand-up guy. I know your schedule's slammed. I can't thank you enough for fitness in to share some of your stories and time. And do, like I saying, one of the coolest jobs on the planet. Until we get together next time, enjoy the drive out there, man. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, and I'll see you in Vegas at SEMA, man.
You betcha, man. Dinners or luncheons on me. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this week's episode of Car Stars and Roll Bars. You got to check out everything going on Autotopia LA, and you got to check out what they're doing. Likewise, make sure to hit up our social media and subscribe, like, and share, and ring the bell. And until next time, enjoy the ride.